It's now early spring, and while most lizards are still lying dormant through the colder months, awaiting the promise of a warm summer, these lizards are up early, and they are cranky and violent. Then again, so are the SKULLBOYS, who are more than capable of stopping a hostile lizard incursion. That includes the mutant Scarlands kind that have managed to figure out how to open doors. Clever girl. The extra lizard meat might be a welcome sight for the boys. Their potato stores are running low, and it might yet be a few days before the weather is right for planting new crops, let alone harvesting any. Bullet continues trying to get Kimmy into the gang. It's slow going. She's trying to impress her by building an extremely large table. A bit too large, if you ask me. I mean, look at that thing. That's just showing off, honestly. Bullet seems to agree, since she deconstructs it not long afterwards. Gary and Bardark are working hard on the problem of chem fuel. Or on the question of chem fuel. I guess that's the same thing. Either way, with neither a solution nor an answer to the chem fuel quandary, they're left with a grav ship that can't fly anywhere, which is a significantly less useful machine than one that can. And of course, all three of the boys are pitching in with the renovation of the Barnaby Cornelius Penrite Southam building. So far, the place has been cleaned up, fixed up, spruced up, and is lastly receiving a brand new concrete floor. I mean, how could Kimmy not be impressed by this? There is another pack of boghounds roaming the area in search of food, but I'm sure they won't be too much of a problem. Hex is almost old enough to leave her crib now. Even Rat 1 looks healthy. The boys seem to be going from strength to strength. Their sights are set on a new home base, a new gang member, and taking to the skies on a handmade grav ship. Oh, hold the phone. Looks like the boys are getting a head start on dealing with those boghounds. There are actually 2 packs of boghounds roaming around now. Spring must be boghound season. Spring may also be Impid season, as the boys see a raid by the Impid tribe sprint ship of Koso. Impids are typically a restless, insular and warlike group, and so they have that in common with the SKULLBOYS, although the similarities mostly end there. Impids tend to live in the deserts and wastelands of the planets they call home, and aren't often found wandering the Scarlands, due to Impids having weaker than average immune systems, and the Scarlands being an utterly toxic environment in which to live. Still, these 4 Impid berserkers have made the trek from their home tribe for one reason or another, and they certainly aren't interested in friendly trade. For this engagement, the SKULLBOYS seem to have opted for rifles over shotguns, and intend to keep some distance between themselves and the Impid invaders. The reason for this becomes apparent almost instantly, as 2 of the Impids rush close with their knives, only to stop and begin spewing fire from their mouths. I'd heard that Impids could do this, although I'd never actually seen it happen myself. It doesn't amount to much, however, as the flaming vomit mostly just gives Bardark a few small burns, and does nothing to stop the hail of burst fire ammunition raining down upon them. Although one of the invaders managed to escape, the raid was dealt with handily, and to my great surprise, the SKULLBOYS actually capture the sole Impid survivor, a 43-year-old berserker woman named Save. Perhaps the SKULLBOYS are open to Impids joining them, or perhaps they just want to carry out a more elaborate punishment than the usual death by being kicked to. Whatever the reason, Gary is taking care to patch her up, even breaking out some actual medical supplies. Okay, herbal medical supplies, but still. Maybe he was just looking for some more medical practice. He's looking particularly inspired right now. Oh, I know. Maybe he's trying to demonstrate his medical skills for Kimmy, in an effort to encourage her joining the gang. Bullet is back making another table. This one looks a bit more understated. I mean, honestly, it's some very impressive craftsmanship. Wait, what is Gary actually doing right now? Okay, Gary has removed one of Save's kidneys. Not quite where I thought this was going. You know, as disturbing as this development is, I've got to say that it was a surprisingly clean surgery. Total success, and he didn't even get any blood on the ground or anything. I think I'm becoming desensitized to the SKULLBOYS. Oh, and then they execute her afterwards. Okay, no, that's too much. Couldn't you have at least let her go after cutting out the woman's kidney? What do you even want with a kidney? I don't know. Not long afterwards, Kimmy tries breaking out again. I'm not surprised. Unfortunately for her, Bardark is on guard duty with his enormous steel bar once again. Work continues on the Barnaby Cornelius Penrite Southern building. Looks about halfway renovated now, although, you know, still missing power connections, light, heat. Okay, maybe not halfway renovated, but, okay, look, I just enjoy watching the place get revitalized. Sue me. Anyway, Bardark has started replanting crops that seem to be growing, albeit slowly, given that it's still quite chilly outdoors. The boys should be fine until harvest comes in, though, between the lizards and the boghounds and assorted vermin that Gary continues hunting. The freezer is not exactly stuffed, but it's far from bare. Gary is back as a surgeon once more, and the purpose for removing Save's kidney is made clear, as it's being transplanted into Kimmy. Turns out Kimmy had one of her kidneys destroyed by shotgun fire back when they had their first encounter, so yeah, they're just patching her up now. A new kidney is a hell of a gift if you leave aside the particulars of its provenance. It's another successful surgery anyway. And listen, I'm not saying that I would want Gary going anywhere near me with a knife, but his surgical prowess is seemingly undeniable. His grasp on reality is slightly easier to deny, as he has come to believe that there is a space drone orbiting close by, that he not only happens to have the command codes necessary to force into landing, but that doing so will allow him to hack into this space drone in order to obtain information about a minigun that he saw in a dream. Now listen, I probably don't need to explain to you how unlikely any part of this delusion truly is, but okay, what the It looks like some kind of malfunctioning space drone just happened to land nearby, and Gary is hard at work trying to hack into it for one reason or another, trying to figure out why it's here. I suspect it will be interesting to see what he finds. Hacking into an advanced and utterly inexplicable space drone is slow going, and the sudden descent of the vessel to the planet's surface has not gone unnoticed. This being Impids season, the sprint ship of Koso have arrived for a second time to investigate this strange craft. The boys are ready for them, however, already standing guard by Gary while he works. The sprint ship are perhaps not the brightest of intruders, however. Certainly less adroit than some of the lizards around here. The boys stand down, while the sprint ship struggle to master doors and get lost in some of the nearby abandoned buildings. Yeah, this might take a few hours. While the boys turn in for a few hours of sleep, oblivious to the Impid duo making its way very, very slowly towards them, Bullet brings food to Kimmy, attracting the attention of yet another rabid boghound. Okay, 2 rabid boghounds. Okay, 3 rabid boghounds. Okay, a lot of boghounds. My god, there's a lot of these things out here. I guess it's also boghound season. Though, to be fair, it always seems to be boghound season. Seems like the boghounds get a little bit distracted on their way after Bullet, however, and happen upon poor Rat 1 instead, who doesn't really stand a chance. Poor Rat 1. I liked Rat 1. I really think it deserved better. What did we really expect, though? I mean, these aren't exactly the most responsible pet owners we're looking at here, are they? Seeking to avenge their rodent friend, or perhaps just wanting to clear out more of these damn boghounds, the boys opened fire indiscriminately. Very indiscriminately. You know, far be it from me to criticize the shooting accuracy of anybody, given that I've never even held a firearm myself, but I really would have thought they'd be at least a little bit more accurate by now. As the boys continue their hound-culling rampage, they finally notice the sprint ship's Impids making their way towards the spacedrone, emerging at last from an abandoned building and looking exhausted. I think they might have punched their way through it. A slightly awkward exchange follows, in which the boys try to prevent the Impids from getting to the drone, while simultaneously dealing with yet another boghound attack. Bullet manages one stellar example of marksmanship, finally, managing to land headshots on Kazakvoz with 2 out of 3 burst-fired rounds. And while the next few bursts are significantly less impressive, it really doesn't take much more to bring the Impid woman down, causing her partner to rout instantly. The boys give chase to her partner for some time, but Impids are an extremely fast xenotype, and despite being injured, the boys just can't catch up to him. They turn instead to one of the boghounds from earlier that is still somehow both standing and very unhappy. Kazakvoz then receives the Bardark treatment. Today is a very special day. Hex has turned 3 years old and is already up and out of her crib. Time really flies, doesn't it? Gary already has clothes made for her, including an adorable little parka made out of pink cloth from an earlier trade caravan. Aww. It's slightly less cute when she picks up her mother's old chain shotgun to complete the look. I suppose I shouldn't be surprised. Other unsurprising events include the arrival of another Impid, presumably following up on the mysterious spacedrone sighting and subsequent disappearance of their tribesmates. This one at least knows to follow the path his compatriots beat down for him, so there's that. He's up against 4 SKULLBOYS now though, because yes, Hex is already out there, in the thick of it. For now, they just seem to have her observing, just getting her acclimated to horrifying violence and all that. With the last remaining threat eliminated, Gary is able to successfully hack into the spacedrone, it seems. Did he find what he was looking for? In some ways I hope not, because then I would have to ask some very difficult questions that I don't think I'm ready to have answered. With the information secured and Hex having completed her first combat engagement, the boys decide to throw her a surprise birthday party. Which is nice, I mean that's sweet, it's very, it just goes to show you that no matter how strange, unpleasant, cruel, psychotic, deranged, sadistic, dangerous, violent, impulsive, bigoted, domineering, and amoral someone is. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. The next morning, Bullet erects a strange effigy and lights it on fire. Leaving aside the issue of indoor smoke ventilation within such a tiny room, the purpose of this ritual-like behavior is unclear. The boys stand and face the effigy as it burns, although the room door seems to accidentally swing shut on Bullet, Bardark, and Hex, who were watching from the corridor. So profound is their respectful countenance and propriety, however, that not one of them steps from their spot to reopen the door. Gary is left to contemplate the flames, alone. To an outside observer, the sight is both disturbing and confusing in equal measure. This is the ritual known as Call in the Boys. And then, as suddenly as it started, the event is over. It appears to have been a success. The room is smoke-filled and ash-stained. We are all changed for having witnessed this. Perhaps the ritual had something to do with recruiting new members. as not long afterwards, Bullet takes Hex to go and speak to Kimmy. They talk about the recent birthday party. Bullet asks Kimmy about her own family and offers her a sense of community. And like that, the SKULLBOYS have a fifth member. So what do we know about Kimmy? A 35-year-old waster woman who received extensive medical training in her youth and actually served briefly in a space navy during her adulthood. This all but guarantees she grew up in one of the Red Talon Empire's successor states, possibly even the fallen Imperium, who passed through just a few months ago. So how she came to be living life in a Scarlands gang is a bit of a mystery. Still, she might find a kindred spirit in Gary, given that she also has extensive medical knowledge and a desire to see her body artificially augmented. Besides that, she has an unfulfilled artistic urge and is otherwise skilled in shooting and social, as well as the medicine. Yet another steel deposit has been selected by Bardark for extraction. This comes on the heels of a recent breakthrough. I am both pleased and terrified to announce that the SKULLBOYS seem to have figured out how to build a chem fuel refinery capable of producing chem fuel from potatoes. Now I know, it seems unlikely, but at this point, I'm not putting anything past them. Bullet has already built a prototype biofuel refiner in the SKULLBOYS' new base of operations, the almost fully revitalized BCPS building. Some further interior remodeling seems to be happening, but Kimmy's bed has already been set up over there, and it looks like a more comprehensive move to the new building might be starting soon. But on the obstacle of chem fuel, in theory it may have been surmounted. Practically, however, well, I wouldn't trust that machine to do anything productive, but also the boys don't currently have any potatoes to spare, so for now the grav ship remains ornamental. It's 6 PM. More objects are raining down from the sky. Unlike the spacedrone from earlier, these are long-range drop pods launched from somewhere on planet, and the boys don't look happy to see them. 3 porcine raiders emerge. These people call themselves Pigskins, embracing their pig-like appearances caused by, well, having a bunch of pig DNA in their genome. Actually, they're more like pigs with a lot of human DNA in their genome, but, well, leaving aside their historical origins, one thing to note is that they are extraordinarily unresponsive to pain. Unlike Kimmy here, who takes a hail of shotgun pellets in the leg while exchanging fire with a pig named Pog. The boys pull back. It seems they don't want to be caught exchanging fire with multiple pigskins in the open. Despite them being at a numerical disadvantage, pigskins can be very difficult to take down, primarily due to that congenital insensitivity to pain. And unlike the Impids, who hailed from a fairly primitive, tribal society, these pigskins are part of a large industrial culture, and Pog in particular is wearing quite a lot of flak armor. Pog demonstrates here just how tough these guys can be. The SKULLBOYS manage to maneuver themselves into a more advantageous position, but even with Bardark beating on him while the other 4 unload their ammo at him, it still takes minutes for Pog to finally go down. They're fortunate in some respects that the pigskins chose to spread out and smash up random buildings. They catch another pigskin named Curly breaking up their nice new shelves. Maybe they were unhappy at the SKULLBOYS taking over the Barnaby Cornelius Penwright Southam building. Well, the boys use this as an opportunity to give Hex, who again I must stress is only 3 years old, the chance at securing her first kill. Although Curly takes several more rounds of bullets before finally going down. That leaves only one invader left, a pigskin named Boer, who Bardark has managed to catch out with his enormous steel bar. Bardark is tough, but so is Boer, so I'm not sure who has the advantage here. Well, we don't have to wonder for long. A local pigskin union is almost certain to be the most dangerous hostile neighbor that the SKULLBOYS have. Unless or until the SKULLBOYS decide to upset the fallen Imperium, of course. And with that, spring starts giving way to summer. The sun is shining, The potatoes are growing, and the season ends, well, exactly the same way it began. These lizards are actually up at a more expected time, but they're still cranky. They're still violent. Perhaps that's just the way of things out here, on these frightening, ungovernable RimWorlds. Or maybe I'm being cynical. Maybe there'll be peace, and love, and prosperity for all next time.